Okay, so this is my husband Ihor's top 10 worst list. Worst movies of 2011.
Well, not worst, disappointing.
Disappointing, okay.
Because there's a difference between disappointing and worst.
Okay.
Worst is something you can't stand, and you got to go to the washroom and spend a half an hour in there.
All right.
And as usual,
so yeah, say the movie and director if you know, and whatever comments you want to make. What you want to note about each film. What you want to impart to the people out there who are watching this. Well, warn them against going to see these movies.
Well,
why you would warn them.
I'll just make a general comment.
All right. No. All right, go for it.
Well, as usual, 2000 has passed us by, and we are now in 2012. However, before we move forward, we have to go back to some of the most disappointing films that were released in 2011 that I had the displeasure of watching.
Right.
And in no particular order, these were by far the the most disappointing films that I had the pleasure of seeing
or displeasure of seeing.
In no particular order, first one is a movie called Rampart, directed by Oren Moverman, who directed an earlier Woody Harrelson movie. That movie was so convoluted, and you couldn't even follow it. Even though Woody Harrelson did his best, and he was actually very good in this, but the movie was a total mess. Spaghetti was better than watching this movie.
Spaghetti's good, though. You can't compare, spaghetti to...
Yeah.
All right.
But anyways, Spaghetti was...
Who else was in it besides Woody Harrelson?
There was an all-star cast of...
an all-star cast of shame.
Well, no, it wasn't shame on them. It's just whoever... This director, I think he's an Israeli director, don't quit your day job. Actually, better quit your day job and work at McDonald's. Anyways,
wasn't this it was like a police procedural kind of?
Yeah,
he was
he plays an undercover cop.
Some dirty cop.
He's talking to all his buddies, and you can't even, dialogue is, you can't even understand. I don't know how this movie got made. It was terrible. But
Woody Harrelson probably.
But anyways, that was one of the worst. Yeah.
Okay.
Another movie was from a legend in his mind and a lot of people's minds, Francis Ford Coppola's Twixt.
Oh yes.
With Val Kilmer in a I don't know, he must have I don't know what he did, but I don't know why they asked him to do this movie. But this movie was a complete and utter bore. It looked good, and people seem to be into it, but.
But you have to note the one thing that you did like about it that you told me. Remember when they had the 3D thing or whatever?
It was there was a couple of scenes in this movie that the glasses would come filtering through the scene, which would mean that you had to put your 3D glasses on. And then when it was the 3D part was finished, the glasses would come back on and you have to take them off.
Right.
So this happened twice. Now, that's a nice gimmick, but...
gimmicks couldn't save it.
Gimmicks couldn't save this movie. Val Kilmer, no.
So, what do you...
It was just a bore. It was like a, gothic horror story in California.
Well, I heard a lot of people, or I read a lot of reviews about this movie saying that it was Francis Ford Coppola's homage to his deceased son or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it was a personal movie for him, but... Right. When you're paying your $12...
Go to... I won't say it. It's not nice. Anyway.
When you pay your $12, it was just not very good, and hopefully he'll come up with better efforts down the road. And apparently he, thought of this movie when he was in Bangkok, drunk in his room. So,
really? Francis Ford Coppola?
Right.
Wow, he was drunk and he thought of this movie. Well, no wonder.
The premise for the movie, so he should have stayed drunk.
I guess so.
Another movie that's on this list that's really bad that I had the misfortune of seeing at TIFF was that god-awful, Trespass, which is out on video, believe it or not.
Right.
With Nicole Kidman and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage should be retired from acting. Because every time he's in a movie, it's awful.
Yeah,
You know,
he hasn't had a good movie in a very long time.
And I don't know why he like continues to pick bad
Actually,
movies.
the one recent movie I liked him in was that one Kick-Ass when he played the girl's the
Yeah,
father.
but it was kind of like.
But it was kind of like a shticky role.
Yeah.
Like
I think it was good in that. The movie actually was good, but he's either his team or him. They better take a break for a couple of years.
Right. Was it kind of that Trespass? Was it kind of a Straw Dogs?
It was a home invasion movie.
Right. Yeah.
Where they come in and try to steal the diamonds and all this from a safe, and I mean it was just ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean the thing opened for like a day and then got on video. I was like shocked to see it like a month later on video because it was terrible.
All right.
I mean that was. Don't waste your $12. Spend it on a TTC going home.
All right.
Another movie was The Arbor, a British, movie that made by a woman called Cleo Barnard.
Got a lot of like very, very praiseworthy reviews.
But the only thing I can say about this movie: bring your Berlitz translator, because unless you can understand, like Scottish or British accents.
Very, very thick, heavy English, Northern English accents.
Right. It was. Yeah. I mean, to put it mildly, not only the accents were like slow, but the movie was very slow.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And there's no point in watching a movie if you can't understand it.
Right.
And The Arbor, was in that mold. Just, well-intentioned, probably a really good story, but the accents killed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot recommend it. It made the big D.
All right.
Is in, destruction. Another one that I have to say, didn't meet expectation was Chasing Madoff, that documentary about Bernie Madoff. I mean, a great story. Probably one of the best stories of the last 15 years. But watching this thing was some good moments, but very weak and very.
Who was the guy? The movie. Who was the guy who
forget the guy.
Well, whoever he was he was a total bore and.
Well, it's a real life character, so I mean, you can't really the person might have been boring, but the movie just. I hope somebody makes a better documentary about Bernie Madoff.
Right,
this
because
wasn't the one.
No, definitely not.
And it's kind of ironic they showed it at the Jewish Film Festival.
Right. Well, yeah, Madoff's Jewish, and so is the guy. Is the guy who got him Jewish, or
maybe?
Okay.
But no, that was definitely kind of disappointing. Even though the story was good, how they found out and all the procedures they went through. But watching it was very slow and kind of boring. So.
Took a very interesting story and made it extremely boring. It's true. It was I mean that's an amazing story, that whole Madoff thing, and and it was just dull and boring.
Right. And so those are the the worst of the worst.
That's it.
There's some other ones in case you want to don't waste your $12 on these movies because you may be disappointed.
Okay.
There was The Loneliest Planet, with Gabriel Garcia Bernal. And, extremely slow, methodical, and not much happens except for a shotgun pointing in the guy's face. That's about the only thing that. Very well, very beautifully filmed, but the movie was very, 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 very slow, and not much happens. It's supposed to make you think, but it made me sleep.
Okay.
Lena, that you and I saw.
Oh, very disappointing.
Another, in the long line of movies about, bigger, women or girls.
Well, there hardly are any movies about bigger women. And there hardly are any. So there's no excuse for a movie to be bad. If you're going to make a movie about a bigger woman, then make a good one.
Well,
because there are few enough of them out there.
Unfortunately,
this wasn't
maybe they ran out of money.
Yeah. Well,
the script wasn't actually.
It wasn't totally bad, but it was. It could have been so much better.
Didn't meet expectations.
It's disappointing. Yeah.
And also saw a documentary called Crazy Horse about dancers in this Crazy Horse saloon in Paris. Problem with that in this movie was the bodies were good, but after that too much yapping. There was no voiceovers. Very beautifully filmed. I mean the story was interesting, but the way what's his name, the director there?
Frederick Wiseman.
Frederick Wiseman made it just it didn't connect with me. I mean, even though I stayed till almost a bitter end.
But how long? Wasn't it a long movie too?
2.5 hours. So I stayed for 2 hours and 3/4.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left, I was looking for the Crazy Horse Saloon so I could have a drink. We also saw another documentary earlier on in the year, or in the middle of the year, called Wisconsin Death Trip.
Yeah. That was one weird fucking movie.
That was a weird movie. One word of advice: don't go to Wisconsin.
Stay away.
Stay away because you may not come back.
Right.
Yeah. And there's other movies that didn't quite make the cut. Was Carnage, the Polanski movie,
yeah.
Which, yeah.
I love Roman Polanski.
But
he's one of my favorite directors of all time. But this movie was.
It just
didn't work.
Quite. Some funny lines. Good actors in this movie. But
I like the
movie version. The play might have been better.
The play got a lot of awards, and James Gandolfini won an award for.
Yeah, it was Gods of Carnage, the play.
Gods of Carnage, yeah.
But the movie just, I guess Carnage might describe this movie.
Yeah, very much so. But the guy who played the guy with the cell phone, what's his name again? Christopher Waltz. He was very good in that. I liked him a lot.
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, he's good. I like him.
I never saw it yet.
He rocks.
But I may see it this year.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be retiring, so I have lots of time.
Uh-huh.
So I can catch a movie a day.
Right.
I saw, the Clint Eastwood Magnus Opus, J. Edgar, Leonardo DiCaprio, great. Story was okay, but just the way it was done, it was very, very, just boring. That's all I can say. They'll probably win an award for makeup or stuff like that because.
Right, because it's one of those movies where he ages and all that.
Yeah, he was really good in that, but.
Leonardo DiCaprio was good.
Yeah, the movie didn't work for me. Yeah. And let's see, another one here was the movie with 4 female titles. Mary, Marcy, Marlene,
Martha,
Margaret.
Macy, May, Marlene.
Okay, well,
I liked it. You hated it.
I mean, this thing was just. Basically no action. I guess it was a psychological drama, but Jesus, we had just too slow and. Again, too boring.
I don't know. I thought it really worked. I thought it did a really good job of showing this girl who had lived in this cult, this religious cult or whatever kind of cult it was, and she got away from there, and she was all messed up as a result of it, and just the way it impacted her life, and how she found it really difficult to just adapt to everyday life after getting out of this cult.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good.
I just thought it was just too boring, and I've seen better movies about cults.
Okay. Like what?
Ticket to Heaven.
That was an excellent movie. That's a Canadian movie.
Cuso.
That's a Canadian movie too.
Yeah. So I mean, there's probably a few others, but due to time constraints, I cannot.
Yeah. Well, I got half a battery left. So that's okay.
Let's see. There are a couple other movies that made my list. Disappointing was Orange is the Sunshine, which I saw in New York.
Oh, terrible.
Good story, but extremely slow, and just didn't cut it. Probably go on a video. Don't waste your money. It's
very
story. Emily Watson was good.
Yeah, she's a good actress, but no.
The story was a good story, but again, didn't translate to movie or to film, and had to anyways, I wasted $12. And that is it for my.
That's it for your worst list?
Right.
Oh, really?
Except for Alice, that French movie. That. Wow. Great, 2 great chicks in that movie, but and some good, good sex scenes in there.
Yeah.
But
so that's with Juliette Binoche.
And a couple of
and it was about.
It was about she's interviewing. She works for this magazine, and she interviews these 2, young, sex trade workers or students.
Supplementing their income.
Supplementing with, joining the meat brigade. Yeah.
and it was just
boring. But a few good things in that,
So what would you say was the absolute worst, the worst of the worst that you saw this year?
The worst of the worst?
Yeah.
Or the extreme was disappointing?
Yeah.
Boy, that's I would have to say that Rampart.
Rampart?
With, Woody Harrelson has to be. That was I don't know how this movie ever got made, because it was just terrible. It was terrible. I mean, everything about this movie was terrible.
Right.
They should have just called it terrible. It was awful. It was awful. I mean, anyways.
Okay.
The least I say about just the better. Yeah.
Okay, so that's your top 10 worst movie, Ihor's top 10 worst movies of 2011. So next we're going to have your top 10, your best.
I don't have a top 10, but I could probably give you my top 10.
Okay.
These are movies that are extremely well made, with great performances and great directors who know what they're doing. And the stories are great, the movies are great, everything about these movies is great. And
okay, well, you know what? Let's save that list for next, because I don't want to do it on half a battery. We might run out of time. So why don't you do your top 10 documentaries? That might use up the rest of this.
Top 10 documentaries, though, that's pretty easy, because not too many documentaries come out. You have to basically either see them at TIFF or Hot Docs.
Right.
Because well, now with the bluer set to reopen.
Which is supposed to be now showing only documentaries, which I find very hard to believe.
Well, I don't believe it, as Jose would say, because I went on the website today and they're selling memberships.
Really? So when are they planning to open it?
Early in the year, but didn't really give a date. So you gotta kind of like
that's weird.
Watch out for it. They got memberships for it's going to show documentaries, so that should be actually I'll give you.
I love documentaries.
Give people venue to see documentaries.
Everybody out there who thinks documentaries are boring, you're wrong. A really good documentary can be one of the best movies you've ever seen. Exactly. So do not discount going to see a documentary, because they can be really good. And there were some great ones this year.
And if you're like a penny pincher like me, rent them.
Right.
Because, they're expensive to go see.
Right. It is expensive. Yeah.
But anyways, in no particular order again.
Okay.
My list of best documentaries has to start with Project Nim, a story of
oh God,
of a chimp.
That was amazing.
I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. And I mean, you got to see this movie to believe what happens.
If you're an animal lover, and most people are, it'll tear your heart out watching this movie.
There's all sorts of subjects in here, from dance, with Pina,
yeah,
to Hitman and El Sicario. How many times you see a movie about a hitman?
Right.
I'll tell you what he does. What they do. It's like that was chilling.
In a motel room in Mexico.
Right. I mean, man, watching this thing is like.
And throughout the whole movie, he had like a hood on his face, so it's like he's an executioner. He's like wearing this black hood, and he's talking about what he did and
the way he describes how they go about
what they did to people.
Getting somebody and luring them in and all this is like
that was that.
Makes your skin creep.
Yeah, it makes your skin crawl. Absolutely.
I mean.
Now, what was the movie you mentioned before that? We kind of glossed over it. What was it?
Pina.
Pina, yes, yeah. Pina. We have to talk about Pina. Pina was just one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing.
Watching, I guess ballet is ballet, right?
Dance? Modern dance.
Modern dance is not something that I know anything about, but I went in there and because I saw clips of that and it looked pretty good, so I went to see it. And it's
in 3D as well, so it makes it even more visually spectacular because
it's something you should actually see because. I mean, I would say in the next few years, you're probably not going to see too many movies about dance.
Right.
I mean, there aren't many, and this one is, probably the best that I've ever seen. I've never seen a movie about dance.
Neither have I. Yeah.
And what was good also was that I saw it for free.
Yeah. Yeah, we went on a pass. Yeah. No, it was a beautiful movie.
We saw a good horror documentary called Cropsy about alleged Long Island
serial killer,
which was very well made. Played in New York a couple of years ago. Finally ended up getting in Toronto. I don't know. They must have, brought it here by mule or something.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that was really good.
That was very creepy. Very creepy movie.
Others that made my list were, Cave of Forgotten Dreams, which I dissed. But you got to give it credit. It's made by a
I loved it.
I mean, Werner Herzog's a master.
He is.
I mean.
Definitely one of my favorites.
He never, very seldom makes a bad movie, so you're going to get your money's worth seeing a movie by him.
Right.
Another good documentary was Bobby Fischer, and anybody who follows chess, you only have to follow chess to know who Bobby Fischer was. I mean,
right.
He's just
quite the character.
He's a very different person.
A genius, but a tormented genius.
Right, and just watching this documentary it just shows you how people get focused on one thing and they become the greatest, but
to the detriment of everything else.
Right. The price of fame comes to downfall, and when you see this guy go down, it's
sad.
It's hard to believe that you see this guy he's like at his top, and then when he's at the bottom.
Yeah. And where did he end up? He ended up in some really weird Iceland, that's right. Yeah.
Ended up in Iceland.
And
he had a beard.
Yeah, he looked like some homeless guy. Yeah, he was really
spouting anti-Semitic,
And he's Jewish, and he was a very outspoken anti-Semite, and he's a Jew himself.
But I mean, the guy was brilliant. I mean, it's just a brilliant person who just went downhill extremely fast. So
sad.
A very good documentary.
Yeah.
We saw a little documentary called My Joan of Arc, which probably nobody's even heard of.
And it'll probably never be seen anywhere. I don't even know if you can get it on DVD or whatever.
You might not even get released, but
it was
kind of a cool.
Very
movie.
Poetic, very beautiful movie.
Right, but a woman who retraces the journey of Joan of Arc.
Right.
And it was good to watch. I liked that.
Yeah, so did I.
And there was a couple other ones that were on here. I had to mention Tabloid because I mean, you ain't going to see a documentary any more hilarious than this.
Outrageous.
I mean, you cannot. I mean,
you can't make this stuff up.
You can't because it's too real. You aren't smart enough to make up documentaries like this.
Yeah.
You got to see this movie to believe it.
It's hilarious.
Even after you watch it, you said this actually happened.
Right.
And it's made by another master.
Errol Morris.
Errol Morris.
Yeah.
And, he's
one of the
his career is well known, and he's made a lot of good movies. But he's I don't know how he is personally, but.
Seems to be a bit of an asshole personally, but he makes great movies.
He makes great movies, so I'm looking forward to the next one. The top two documentaries, without a doubt, that I saw this year was a movie called Give Up Tomorrow, which was a Filipino, documentary about a guy who gets wronged in the Philippines. He, pays the price, and meanwhile, the corruption there is that runs from all the way to the top to the bottom. I mean, there's no one person that's honest in this movie except the guy. And even when he goes to, even when he gets sort of liberating and ends up going to France, it's still he's kind of no better off.
So tell the story. It was about a young guy who was accused of murdering.
And he commits a crime. I forget the crime.
Yeah, there were two girls who were murdered in the Philippines, and him and a bunch of his friends were accused of the crime, and they, said, "No way did we do this."
But I mean,
and of course he gets railroaded.
Right, just to watch, the police and how they
corruption and bribery and.
I mean, every bad thing you could think of.
Yeah.
Happens in the Philippines. I don't know how the country is, but I mean. After seeing this movie, you don't want to go anywhere near the Philippines.
Right.
Because if you drop a nickel on.
Well, you sure as hell don't want to be accused of a crime there. That's for sure.
You might drop some money and they might arrest you for breaking